Tonight, you will lie in bed and wait for sleep to arrive in one long, unbroken block. If it doesn't come quickly, you will call it a problem. You will call it insomnia. You will reach for your phone or a pill or a podcast to drown out the silence. But for most of human history, that expectation didn't exist at all. The real answer is far stranger. Your ancestors didn't sleep the way you think they did, and understanding why might change the way you see your own worst nights. Start with a simple assumption. Most people today believe humans have always slept for one continuous stretch, roughly 8 hours, lights out to lights on. It feels obvious. It feels biological. But it isn't. Historian A. Roger Ekich spent over a decade combing through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, and he found something unexpected. Hundreds of documents casually reference something called first sleep and second sleep, not as a disorder, not as an exception, as the normal shape of a night. Picture it. You would go to bed shortly after dusk. You would sleep for 3 or 4 hours. Then you would wake, not in a panic, but naturally, as if surfacing from water. This waking period could last an hour, sometimes 2. People used it to pray, to talk quietly with a partner, to tend a fire. Some even visited neighbors. Then, unhurried, they would drift into a second sleep that carried them until morning. This wasn't rare. It was the default rhythm of the night for centuries. Why did it disappear? Light. Or more precisely, the absence of it. Before artificial lighting, night was long and dark for most of the year, especially in winter, when darkness could stretch 14 hours or more. The body, given that much unstructured darkness, doesn't stay unconscious the whole time. It rests, surfaces, rests again. Segmented sleep wasn't a habit humans chose. It was what happened when a body was left alone with real night. Then came the artificial light bulb, and with it, an entirely new relationship between humans and darkness. Harvard sleep researcher Charles Czeisler has spent decades studying circadian rhythms, and his work shows how sensitive your internal clock still is to light, even now. A single hour of bright light before bed can delay your body's release of melatonin. Push your sense of night later. Compress what should be 2 natural sleep phases into one shortened, forced block. Your ancestors' nights breathed. Yours has been flattened. But go back even further than candlelit Europe. Go back before agriculture, before walls, before beds. What did sleep look like when humans lived without any artificial light at all? This is where UCLA sleep researcher Jerome Siegel enters the story. Siegel and his team studied 3 modern hunter-gatherer societies, groups in Tanzania, Namibia, and Bolivia, whose lifestyles closely resemble how humans lived for the vast majority of our history. No electricity, no screens, no sleep schedules dictated by an alarm clock. And what they found challenged almost everything. These groups didn't sleep in one long, undisturbed block either. But they also didn't follow Ekich's 2-phase European pattern exactly. Instead, they slept for roughly 6 to 7 hours, often waking briefly in the night, and almost never napped during the day. Here's the detail that stopped researchers cold. These groups reported almost no insomnia. The concept barely existed in their language. Compare that to industrialized nations today, where sleep complaints affect a significant portion of the population every single year. What made the difference? Not duration, not even structure, temperature. Siegel's data showed that in these societies, people didn't go to sleep at a fixed clock time. They went to sleep as ambient temperature dropped after sunset and woke as it began rising before dawn. Their bodies were tracking something ancient, not a schedule, a drop in warmth signaling the world was settling into stillness. Think about that for a moment. Your body still carries this wiring. That's why a cool room helps you sleep and a stuffy one keeps you tossing. That's why a hot summer night without air conditioning can wreck an entire week of rest. You are still, underneath every modern convenience, running ancient software designed for a world lit only by fire and moonlight. Now here's the counterintuitive twist. You might assume that ancient humans, without phones or artificial light, slept more than you do. Longer nights should mean more rest, right? But Siegel's research suggests the opposite. Hunter-gatherer groups averaged less total sleep than the recommended 8 hours modern doctors often cite. And yet, they didn't report exhaustion the way sleep-deprived people in industrialized societies do. Why? Because sleep quality, not just sleep quantity, was different. Their sleep was uninterrupted by artificial light pollution, unregulated by anxiety over how much sleep they were supposed to get, and synced tightly with a natural temperature and light cycle their brains had evolved to read. You, meanwhile, might get your full 8 hours and still wake up tired, because your nervous system spent the night fighting blue light from a screen, or worrying about tomorrow's meeting, or trying to sleep in a room that never quite got dark enough or cool enough. There's something almost humbling in that. All this modern control, and still worse rest. So what does this mean for the 2 or 3 in the morning when your eyes suddenly open and your mind starts turning? For most of human history, that moment wasn't a malfunction. It was expected. It had a name. It had a purpose. People used it. They didn't fight it, and they didn't panic about it, because nobody had told them a broken night meant a broken body. You, on the other hand, have been taught the opposite. Wake at 3 a.m. today, and the first thought is often dread. Something is wrong. Tomorrow will be ruined. That anxiety itself, layered onto a completely normal biological event, may be doing more damage than the waking ever could. Eckhart has pointed out that the disappearance of segmented sleep wasn't just about losing an old habit. It was about losing the cultural permission to wake up peacefully in the dark. Here's a question worth sitting with. What if insomnia, as you understand it, isn't really about sleep at all? What if it's about expectation? A body doing something it has done for hundreds of thousands of years, colliding with a mind that has only recently been told this is unacceptable. Consider what your ancestors had that you don't. Darkness with nowhere else to be. No blue light demanding your attention at midnight. No anxious scroll through a feed engineered to keep you awake. No cultural message insisting that a broken night equals a failed one. They had permission to simply exist in the dark for a while, then return to sleep without judgment. You could try to reclaim some version of that. Not by mimicking every detail of a hunter-gatherer's night, but by questioning the one assumption modern life quietly installed in you. That sleep must be one seamless, uninterrupted block, or it doesn't count. Your body may never have agreed to that rule. It may still be running on rhythms shaped by firelight and falling temperatures, waiting for you to stop fighting it. Because tonight, when you lie in bed and wait for sleep to arrive in one long, unbroken block, remember this. That expectation is new. Your body is old. And somewhere underneath the anxiety of a modern night, there's a rhythm that has been quietly working just fine for a very, very long time.